One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Hello and welcome to the 50 Shades of Gallifrey podcast. This is my first ever video podcast. Unfortunately, today will be my last podcast in terms of the GallifreyUK.com website, which will soon be coming offline. Really down to lack of time. Can't commit to be doing a podcast every week religiously, and so I've taken the decision to leave Gallifrey UK to fade away, and I'll be taking up a bit of work for other people, more of which I'll get down to later. So just to start off with, we've got some exclusive snippets of news for you, the listeners, or well now viewers of the 50 Shades of Gallifrey podcast. First up, unfortunately, I have had to take the decision to sack my entire makeup department, which was only employed at the start of this week. As you can see from some of the images you're about to see, the results for me to appear in front of the camera were slightly varying. Also, while we're on the subject of various departments leaving the Doctor Who universe, we have received an image which may quite well have led to the unretaining of the Mills visual effects department on working on Doctor Who. The image you are about to see was leaked to us and was the first imagining of the moped scene in the Rings of Akatan. And finally, just a tip really, don't rely on Google Images too much when grabbing pictures for your news related items. What you're about to see was images that we found in relation to a 50th anniversary story, and let's just say the results were varied. So, just in case you haven't heard, the biggest news coming out of the Doctor Who universe this week has been the announcement from the BBC that Mr. David Tennant himself, alongside Billy Piper, will be returning for the 50th anniversary. So, on to some news now. Trust me, the jokes don't get any better at all. Bit longer, we're going to go through the past week of sort of a few hand-picked news stories. Unfortunately, there's been that much for me at that time, or enough battery left on the camera to discuss them all. Obviously, we haven't spoken for a while, but I'm sure you'll all know by now that David Tennant, Billy Piper are returning for the 50th anniversary special episode or episodes. We're not quite sure yet. Joining them will be British legend John Hurt, course starred in the Alien film, as well as the bloody awful Indiana Jones Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Stacey from Gavin and Stacey, Joanna Page, is also appearing. Not quite sure what her role is as of yet, along with John Hurt. Lots of casting news coming in all the time, so we'll I won't keep you posted because this is my last podcast, but if you stay tuned to the various news websites, we tend to go with the Gallifrey Times.co.uk, who provide us with all the latest news from the world of Doctor Who. Now, inside the week, we've had a picture, sort of an official picture, and some unofficial pictures on set. Of course, the Zygons are returning during the 50th anniversary episode. You may well have seen a picture that I put on earlier. I've got to say, the Zygons, along with the Ice Warriors, I think really we're not going down the path that we went with the Daleks, the Teletubby Daleks, staying really, really true to the original designs. So yeah, looking forward to seeing them in action. 50th anniversary filming happening mostly over London past couple of days. If you're a spoiler phobe, then obviously you won't want to go looking, but there are various videos and pictures of the filming online at the moment. Sylvester McCoy has been talking about the fact that none of the 20th century Doctors have been asked to appear in the 50th anniversary episodes, fingers crossed. He says basically that no one's been contacted, could be a ruse, along with Christopher Eccleston not appearing. BBC have come out and said that doesn't have any effect on the production of the 50th anniversary episode. Worth bearing in mind though that we're going to have the 20th century Doctors in the Big Finish audio production, I believe it's called The Light at the End, I think, yeah. So definitely worth listening out for that. That's Big Finish's way of celebrating the big 50th. And one final bit of news, Kate Stewart, of course the granddaughter of Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, who appeared in the Power of Three running unit. Gemma Redgrave, of course, plays her. She is back in the 50th anniversary, and we've seen some pictures of her on set at the Great Tower of London, I think yesterday. So definitely good news. Nice little nod to the Brigadier, and obviously unit are going to have some involvement in the 50th anniversary episode. Just a little tidbit, probably the most important piece of news this week. Birdseye have released a special edition of their fish fingers. Rather than having Captain Birdseye in the box, we have Matt Smith's 11th Doctor. I doubt they're going to taste much differently. They were released on National Fish Fingers and Custard Day, so maybe give those a try. Maybe they've been altered so that they taste a lot better with custard. You never know. So that wraps up sort of my best selection of news from the past week in the Doctor Who universe.
Now on the 50 Shades of Gallifrey podcast, it's competition time.
Okay, so now I just thought, since it's my last podcast, I thought we might do a little competition. Now, what we have for you today is a fantastic prize. so much so that we do request that any postage and packaging costs incurred are paid by the winner, because basically we've run out of money. So just bear with me one sec, just find it is in here somewhere. There we are. Okay, so what we have for you, fantastic prize, is a tin of whole meat pasta shapes in tomato sauce, adorned with the Doctor Who logo. We have various edible shapes, including a Cyberman, a Slitheen, you can eat K9 if you like, a rather messed up looking Dalek, I don't know if you can see that, doesn't really look much like a Dalek, a TARDIS with far too many windows, and the kid from An Empty Child. This is, however, not your average tin of whole wheat pasta shapes in tomato sauce, because it is in fact signed by myself. So yeah, fantastic prize. As we say, you know, you can apply on Twitter at Gallifrey UK. You can email us, Graham at gallifreyuk.com. But we do request, obviously, because this is well, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity really, that you do pay the postage and packaging towards receiving your prize. So that's competition time. Now I am going to do a quick review of the Rings of Hakatan, the musical, which was on Saturday, and yeah.
And now on CBBS, Graham would like to tell you the story of the Rings of Hakatan.
5, 4, 3. Jackanory, Jackanory. Jackanory.
Until he was 4 years old, James Henry Trotter had a happy life. He lived peacefully with his mother and father in a beautiful house beside the sea.
Thanks, Kenneth. We won't be going any further with that story, but I would like to give you my thoughts on the Rings of Hakatan. Now, quite a lot of notes written down for this, so just bear with me. I'll just get them. Right, now, there's been a lot of conjecture since the Rings of Hakatan aired, and let's be honest, I think you fall into 3 categories with regards to this episode. Either you hated it, you loved it, or on second viewing, after thinking it was rubbish the first time, you actually think it's not that bad. I fall into the third category. I thought, on seeing the episode first, I thought it was absolutely terrible, rubbish. Second viewing, I thought it wasn't too bad. It has got its faults, which, trust me, I'll go into, don't worry about that. The episode, as I've said time and time again through Series 7, once you get to maybe 60-70% through the episode, the bottom just falls out of it. It seems rushed, and as again with Saturday's episode, it felt rushed at the end. Now I know I joked before saying, you know, the musical, the music don't get me wrong, the music, the score from Murray Gold, the singing from little Amelia Jones, who until after the episode didn't realise that she's actually the spawn of Aled Jones, i.e. the little boy who sang in The Snowman, Walking in the Air, all that malarkey. She was fantastic, beautiful singing, lovely. And Murray Gold's score, as I said, fantastic. It's strange because the music made the episode, but it didn't. For me, it slipped into a Russell T Davies style, too much focus on music, but at the same time the music was great. I can't quite put my finger on it, apart from saying that the premise that the music was used was good, but not necessarily. It didn't add. It added a lot to the actual viewing experience. It didn't add a lot to the story. I don't know whether I'm making sense. Probably don't, but I hope some of you know what I mean. Anyway, we started the episode with seeing Clara's dad, and the most important leaf in human history, presenting to Clara's mum. We saw that she died quite early. She was actually born on the same date as me, although I have to say I wasn't born in 1960, so yeah, bit of useless information for you there. The opening scenes, very nice. I could probably hold this can up to you and say the same to my wife, that can was probably the most important can in human history, because without it we probably wouldn't have met. But don't tell her I said that. So we then went on to a rather disappointing Clara getting in the box, flying off. At the end of the Bells of St. John, when she said come back for me tomorrow, I was more expecting sort of an 11th hour style, Doctor comes back at the wrong time, or something happened in between. As it turned out, he managed to get it right, and he picked her up and they flew off. Very end of the world type premise with this episode. Basically the same as the Ninth Doctor took Rose off to see something amazing, and they did, and it was all, wow, this is amazing. The alien market, we were promised that we'd see more aliens in one scene than we'd seen before. That didn't disappoint. Lots of strange looking things, and particularly liked the scenes with Doreen, is it? Not least because she doesn't half remind me of my mother-in-law, to be honest. But that aside, one thing I did notice with that actually is that Doreen obviously barks at people, a bit like my mother-in-law, but the TARDIS is supposed, well, usually the TARDIS translation matrix, I think it is, translates foreign languages, etc., on different worlds for the Doctor, companions, whoever. It didn't in this instance, much like later on in the episode when Clara tried to get into the TARDIS and wouldn't let her in. He said, it doesn't like me. One simple explanation for this could be that the Doctor had locked the door. When I get to my front door and I've forgotten my key and it doesn't open for me automatically, I don't think that my house doesn't like me. There we go. But I do think there's something underlying in that with regards to the TARDIS and Clara. Maybe the TARDIS knows something that the Doctor doesn't, or maybe the Doctor and the TARDIS both know exactly the same thing, but he's just not letting on. Anyway, on to Mary, little Amelia Jones. Fantastic, really good performance from her, as with Matt Smith. um, particularly towards the end. The 11th hour-esque speech, but obviously a lot more emotionally driven. A tear coming from his eye, and obviously with Clara being able to hear what the doctor was saying, it also sort of broke the ice a bit as to she knows who the doctor is and what he's been through a bit more. So a bit of sort of, building the relationship between the two, building the understanding. The visual effects at the start, fantastic. Standing on the asteroid, waiting for the temple to appear in front of Grandfather. Really, really nice scenes there. Towards the middle and the end of the episodes, the visual effects, they appear to get a bit lazy, and I made a joke before about Flash Gordon on the space scooter, moped, whatever. I have to say that some of the scenes with the Doctor and Clara on the space moped towards the end were actually worse than that of Flash Gordon, in my opinion. I think there's a scene where they crash land sort of in front of the temple, and you may as well have just taken a background of a sandy temple type thing and just put the image, just place it straight on the background. It just looked rubbish, to be honest, but there we go. The aliens in the episode, the Vigil, really like them, really like them. Whether they're a bit too tied in with the whole mummy grandfather type setup to return, I don't know, but I would like to see them return. I thought, they were sort of going towards the silence, but with all that whispering, it was sort of the husky whispering, Mary, where are you? It was really good. But the fact that we saw them only twice in the whole episode was a bit disappointing, to be honest. We saw them chasing Mary, and then we saw them at the temple when they tried to feed Mary's soul to the mummy. A bit disappointed that we didn't see more of them. The mummy, bit of a non-entity really in the whole episode. Didn't seem to have much point to me. Seemed scary enough when it was roaring and banging on the glass, and then when it eventually broke the glass, it sort of conked out, and then we found out that the giant fireball planet stroke pumpkin stroke smiling happy face in the sun was the actual enemy, which was not daunting at all, to be fair. I know it's a huge sun with a face. Seemed a bit Wizard of Oz to me, seemed a bit too campy Russell T Davies style for me. That's just my opinion. I'm not holding back. It's my last review of an episode for a long time, so I'm just going to say how it is. One nice little thing in the episode, I came here a long time ago with my granddaughter, which is really the first time in an extremely long time that we've heard the Doctor refer to Susan. Of course, his granddaughter, which relates back to, for you younger viewers, relates back to the first episodes with William Hartnell, where Susan, his granddaughter, travelled with him in the TARDIS. So, on the whole, I would say a 6 out of 10. It wasn't a really bad episode. I did at first think it was. As I say, the end was rushed. Hopefully that's something they'll sort out. The tempo to Series 7 episodes has just seemed all wrong, and even with the Wedding and River song at the end of Series 6, it just seems that they build so much and do so much hard work in building up to the finale, and then the finale is just lacking. As I say, maybe it's just me. Right, well, that signs me off for my review. There's my thoughts. It does probably sound a bit negative, my thoughts on the Rings of Akatan. There are some really good points, but unfortunately there's 40% of bad points, and hence I give it a 6 out of 10. Okay, so that brings an end to our first video podcast. And the reason I did a video podcast for my personal last podcast was that I just wanted to do something different. Just want to experiment a bit, and hopefully it's worked. Just want to try and put a few comedy elements in there. Just to not seem like some geek just sitting in front of a webcam saying, yes, well, this was terrible about Doctor Who, but for everybody who's sort of supported us and, supported me, it's a one-man band, supported me through when we first started Gallifrey, UK.com up. I would have liked to have done a lot more with it, but as I said at the start, just time, and I can't really get bogged down with presenting something religiously every week. So thank you very much for your support. Gallifrey Times, who provided us with our news, the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance, who when we were doing 7 days a week were providing us with the latest podcast releases. The Who's He podcast, Talking Who give us the odd mention out on Twitter as well. And just thanks for listening, and tonight thanks for watching. So what I'll do is I'll leave you with a couple of little tidbits. I believe the Waris Hussein, who worked on, obviously, when Doctor Who first started, has been saying Doctor Who has become far too sexy. So, with that in mind, breaking news, the BBC have decided to edit the introduction to Doctor Who on the Saturday night. Take a look at this.
With scenes of heavy petting, as well as passionate lovemaking involving a TARDIS and a chicken from the outset, now on BBC One, horny ice warriors, rampant Rootons, and more than 500 alternative uses for a sonic screwdriver. It's Doctor Who.
And finally, just before we go, we now know the reason that the Atraxi ran away from the Doctor. It wasn't nothing to do with the Doctor. He just lost something. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye, guys. Bye.
What happened to them? Hello. I'm the Doctor. Basically, run.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Vento!